24 years of maintenance and plowing with this 77 3/4 ton Chevy truck, man. I tell you, if I could buy another truck to plow with, it'd be another one of these, man. 6-inch lift, 35 1250 tires. Truck's got a posi up front from the factory. Just goes anywhere. I'm the guy everybody calls to pull them out in the storms, man. It just goes anywhere. One of the first things I did was I didn't like the single chain riding on that bolt, you know, coming up off your lift there. I noticed the bolt shit was only like 5/16 bolt, and then with a single chain pulling in the middle, it was bent in the middle up, so the chain always went to the same spot and was wearing a groove through it. So I drilled the plates out and then ran a bigger bolt through it, ran like 3/8 bolt through it, and then did a double chain, so it's not just picking in the middle and bending that bolt. They always kind of end up in a little bit different spot, and they're not wearing a groove through it. And you know, I just looped the chain through the other chain and hooked it up top. That worked out really good. That was the first thing I did when I started plowing. I didn't like that. It just looked cheesy and weak. And then one of the next things that happened was these here broke. So I got some good all thread, welded some big ass nuts on them, replaced those, and got the springs hooked back up a long time ago. And then here 8-9 years ago, the whole top lip across here was starting to crack where you'd bolt the rubber belt on if you had that belt up there. So I took a cut-off wheel and just cut that off straight and put a piece of 1/4 back up to the gussets here on the back, and then added a piece of 5-inch wide 11 gauge. Fried that up, put the gussets back in here. Well, it's been like that for a while, 8, 9, 10 years or something. That's worked out really good. Something else that works really good for these here, for your little gizmos here. I just hit the job sites, extra electrical wiring left over, and then what I do is I paint the top like 4 inches red. So when the blade's turned all the way, when the snowplow's turned all the way, say towards the driver's side, when I just got about 1 inch of that left that I can see with the blade turned all the way, then I know my wear blade on the bottom's just about wore out. So when it gets to where I can just barely see these tips and the plow's turned, I know it's time to replace my blade. That worked out pretty good. Something else I did too is I didn't like these little 1/4 inch hydraulic hoses that were on this. Those cracked like the first year, gave me problems. So I put some, I mean, these are like 3/4 inch hydraulic hoses that I put on there. They've been on there 22 of the 24 years. Never had a problem. And something else I do, my buddy showed me when I started plowing, is, you know, when you disconnect here and then my other disconnect is here, well, I'll just, after this one's off, I'll leave it hanging, disconnect this one, that's why it's got this loop in it. I'll loop it around here and plug it in up here, and then this one here I plug back in down here. That way the system's sealed up. These aren't just hanging there collecting pine needles and dirt and bugs and dust. So that saves you a lot of grief. Just plug them in opposite when you unplug them. And you don't got to worry about crap getting in there and shit like that happening. So I had to do some big old drop ears because I got that 6-inch lift. So I had to do some big drop ears, welded them on there, put a nice support tube between the two. Never had a problem with that. That's been rock solid. But that's just some of the stuff I've had to do through the last 24 years on it, man. But that's all been, you know, being a fab shop, it's all stuff I could just do myself. You know, fixing the blade, and I want to build one of these out of aluminum before I'm done pushing snow. I want to do my own and build it out of aluminum, spool gun it up. Here a few big storms back, I went ahead and fabbed up a 40-gallon fuel tank for the back of it. I figured the power, they were talking the power going out and stuff, and I was like, well shit, if that happens I won't be able to get fuel. So, and this worked out fine. It's tall enough above the saddle tank that I can just run a hose onto the ball valve on the other end and just fill the tank up with gravity. Works out really good. And then I got the transfer case split. like in that video here a year back or so. What was that? MP203 problem / answers. I got the shifter out and then split the two arms. So that works really good. The snake head's my lock and unlock. And the other arm is my high range, low range. That works out great. God, I wish I'd have done that way back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. But it's been like that for a long time, 20 years probably, 15, 20 years, never had a problem. It just sits there and lock all night until I want to unlock it. And I reach over and unlock it. Everybody bitches about the 203 transfer cases not shifting. It's not the transfer case. It's the damn shifters, man. And then I put the seat forwards here. Threw custom stereo in here. So the whole back seat, literally behind the back seat, is just two monster sub boxes. And then I got a like 400 amp under the seat, which is why I have my batteries isolated, like I posted in that, a couple videos ago, how to isolate your batteries. You want to do that, and that way when your main battery gets killed, your other battery is isolated until you roll the key, tie it together, fire your stuff up, and go. But this old girl's probably got 600,000 miles on it, easy. Just put a third motor in it 10 years ago. It's probably got 40,000 on it now. But I tell you what, if I could pick any truck out of everybody's plow trucks that I've seen in my crowd and everything else, if I could find another 3/4 ton 77 Chevy, and that's the last year before you had to have cats, so you got a lot less smog shit to deal with too. But man, between the 3/4 ton frame and all the heavy duty stuff and the posi up front, this truck's just killed it. It's been a welding truck, been a plow truck, been my play truck. Awesome vehicle to have, man. If you can find one, it's a good vehicle to have for a plow truck. So it's throwing out what it's been like for 24 years, man. Everybody be safe.